Hey, everybody, here we are again. It's your favorite dads, it's your digital daddies, your online in laws. It's me, and it's a wonderful guest. I come with him every time. I do not let you guys down. This time, we're talking to Eduardo Reyes, wonderful dad from somewhere in America. I don't know. We'll find out together. He's come on to share his message, tell us a little bit about how his dad journey has gone and what he has to deal with on a day to day. Never had any Hispanic, anybody from any nation on the podcast. So it's cool to talk to someone of that persuasion. So, with that being said, Eduardo, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey Corey, nice to be here with you. I was born in Mexico, and then I was brought over here when I was younger. I used to work in agricultural in Florida, and then we moved down here to Kansas City. Been married for a little bit, so I have three kids now. My oldest is 9. My youngest is 1 year old, and just trying to learn every day something new with my kids.
Yeah, that's how it goes. It's cool that you're from Mexico, just because personally, I have kind of an attachment to Mexico. When I was in the army, I was in Arizona for a while, and
Okay.
I would go to Nogales, like just on the weekends sometimes, and do not good things. But once I stopped drinking so much, and got out of Arizona, I moved on to I got my degree in English and my minor in Spanish, and I tried to learn Spanish enough that I could, be linked, I can't even think of it. I sound stupid not being able to think of it, but basically I could read it really, really well, speak it fairly well, and understand it when someone else spoke it, like not really at all. So
Right.
if you were talking to me in English, I could maybe not right now on the spot, but like I could respond to you in Spanish. But if you're talking to me in Spanish, I'd be like, oh, lentamente, lentamente, and no, 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 no. Just because like my brain never did really speed up the translation process. But anyway, that's just another one of those touchstones that I have with the guests. You've got quite a bit of a gap in between the two kids. I just want to get a couple of these icebreaker questions kind of out of the way here
Mhm.
in the
Yeah,
beginning.
yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
So 9 and 1, is that just
Well,
I mean, was one a happy accident, or why the gap in between?
I have three. The 1 year
Oh,
old
I'm
is my
sorry. I'm sorry.
youngest. Yeah, yeah, no, it's all right. Um, so 9 is my oldest, and then I have it is kind of a gap because I have my second is 2 years old. What
Oh, okay.
happened was I had another son, and he passed away unfortunately.
Mm,
And then we had a miscarriage in between that time, and then uh, uh so we were going through a hard time, and
yeah.
then COVID hit, and then COVID babies hit, and then we ended up with two more after that.
Yeah, buddy. I mean, you got to do something when you're in there stuck in the house all the time.
Right, of course,
Yeah, my son's the same way. We had him like, I don't know, it after the pandemic started. The thing went on for so long. I can't really remember exactly when during it we had him, but we're right
hmm
there with you with a 2 year old. I'm wondering, this is the basically the one question I thought of to ask you. I've
Okay.
had a couple of friends from Mexico before, but I was not a dad at the time, so it's not like we talked about anything like this. I was wondering, you've obviously lived in America for a long, long time now. Probably talked to all kinds of American dads and what have you. But being from Mexico, you come from a different culture. And I was wondering, do you think or do you see like any kind of real differences between Mexican dads and like white American dads?
Um, I think there is a little bit, but overall, there isn't. We just want the best for our kids. At the end of the day. Uh,
Yeah.
we all both work hard for our kids.
I know just from my experience that, and it's kind of limited because I know like one person from Europe that's Hispanic, but I've known a few Mexicans. But so the Mexicans that I've known, typically they're like really family oriented, like really close. Like the
hmm
you know the parents are like all about the kids and like stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's cool to to kind of have that confirmed. My family was not like that at all. I basically don't have any family anymore because I don't speak to my mom's side, and my dad's side is all dead. So I never had that closeness. When we had whatever holiday, there wasn't a bunch of us kind of hanging around. Usually I will add after the guest comes on and we talk, I'll add them on Facebook. And since I didn't have you as a friend yet, I only saw a little bit, but I did see that you apparently have a pretty big family. So,
I
a
do.
few
Yeah.
brothers, few
Now
sisters.
that you mention it, I have an aunt in Mexico, and she has like all her kids, like they're all grown up right now, right? But they all live like in this one kind of like a neighborhood. It's a house, but they all built around it, so they all live together. All the grandkids, all the nephews and nieces and whatnot, they all live together, kind of separate, kind of like an apartment complex or something like that. So they all do that. I have another aunt who has like two houses together, and they have, so all together. And
That's cool.
holidays, yeah, holidays. I do have a big family, like you said. So holidays, everybody gets together. It's a big celebration.
So on like, I mean, I don't know, Cinco de Mayo or Christmas, do you go down to do you go back to Mexico, or like how do you guys
Yeah,
get together?
we don't celebrate Cinco de Mayo actually.
Oh, really?
Cinco,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
no, you're good. Cinco de Mayo is they only celebrate it in like a small section of Mexico, and here in the United States the most.
That's interesting to learn. I lived in Colorado for like after I got out of the army. I lived there for like God, it seems like forever. And
Okay,
Cinco de Mayo was gigantic there. It was
really?
everywhere. And so
Okay.
I just took it like, they were all Mexican, population.
Oh,
So
okay.
I just took that to mean that it was big, in Mexico.
No, actually, I never find out what Cinco de Mayo meant till I was in high school. I remember one person came up to me. She's like, "Are you gonna celebrate Cinco de Mayo?" I'm like, no, what is it? I'm like, well, you should know. You're Mexican. I'm like, I don't know what it is. But now I do know what it is. But we don't celebrate it. It's just day for drinking or something. But we don't celebrate it.
Right. That's probably the way that St. Patrick's Day is for most Irish people. They're like, it's just a day I drink. I don't even know
Yeah,
what it
exactly.
means. That's cool though. I like I said, I never would have known that, and it's kind of cool to already have learned something in the podcast. I tried to, or I don't necessarily try, but I like to learn, from every guest. I never would have thought that that would be something that we would have talked about this particular episode. But to kind of, I will, like I said, jump back in. I got some random
Mhm.
questions that I will sometimes ask, like just fun, stupid things when I don't have anything else planned to talk about. But with that being said, I did want to throw it back to you at least for a little bit. I know that we kind of, I meet so many potential guests, and some of them don't actually become guests. So it's hard for me to keep track of everybody. I do know that we more than likely met on a podcast guest page, and
Yes.
the odds are that you posted and I responded, just because that's how it's gone here lately. And with that being said, just kind of let everybody know what it was you wanted to talk about, like what you were advertising about, and what you wanted to share today.
No, actually, it was all the way around. You posted it, and I commented, and then you sent me a message back.
Shit, there, man. I see. It's. I might leave that in the podcast. Sometimes I embarrass myself and I edit it out because I knew it
Yeah,
was 50-50. And in my head, I'm like, all right, you got to pick one and go with it, because
yeah.
like you're either going to
Maybe
be
a
right
mistake.
and it'll be
Yeah,
fine, or
yeah.
all right. So never, no worries, no worries. That being said, then I got,
Now, but what I could
oh,
talk about, like in like I mentioned before, I did have a period where it was hard. Uh, Trying to raise my kid, because my I had a son and he passed away, unfortunately, right? So at that time, I had my son and he was taken away. He was in foster care. So I had to fight for him and then be the wife for my wife, and still be a dad, where everything was going on. And how do I become a good dad to my son, showing him, what's a good dad being.
yeah, man, that you've definitely been through the ringer there. That that brings to mind a couple of past guests and situations that they've kind of gone through. And the first thing off my mind, on the top of my mind when you say that, is I'm wondering, and this is probably more of a personal thing too, because I have a bit of a series I'm doing where I will talk to a dad for about 30 minutes on the topic of mental toughness and how they got it and how they plan to pass it on to their kids. And I'm just wondering for you yourself, like how did you get mentally tough enough to deal with something like that? I mean, dealing with a miscarriage, like that's, that shake your whole world.
Yeah, man, it was difficult those couple of years. Um, just looking at my son, focusing on my kid. I didn't want him to grow up without a dad, and being like my dad just quit on me. You know, I didn't want him to go through that. Um, it was just like I said, it was hard going through it, and but I think it's my kid that helped me out most of it. Just like I said, just thinking that I don't want him to grow up and be like, well, my dad just quit. Maybe I should do the same thing.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a personal topic, but I can totally relate. Like my life has not been like yours in any way as far as the hardships that you've dealt with, in terms of the miscarriages, and your children, just like that's just terrible. Um, but like there are times where I want to quit. I'm just like, man, I've got three different guns here, four different guns here. Like maybe it's just time. But
Yeah,
then
yeah,
I
yeah,
think, like just like you, I think, nah, like how can I do that to my son? Like, I mean, like I don't know, I barely know you, and I certainly don't know your wife, but I think like, if I off myself, then what are the odds that my wife will find another man that is as good a dad and loves my son as much as I do? It's just
yeah,
like the odds are so low, and like it would be selfish of me to to do something when like he's going to have to bear the brunt of the consequences.
yeah,
And
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
so I could totally feel where you're coming from there. Like just like you, he is a lot of the time my reason to keep going. And and I love my wife and we have a strong relationship, and for sure, like she's a big part of why I pull through the dark times. But you know, your children are kind of different.
Oh,
Like
for
you're
sure.
like
Yep, yep.
I mean, if something happened to us, like our wives would be okay after a while, but like our children, you can't be sure that they would be okay.
Yeah, no, I
So
agree with you with what you say. I love my wife too. Um, I think we have a good relationship as well. But it's just different with my kid. Seeing them grow up, and I just couldn't imagine somebody's gonna care for them as much as I do for them. Somebody that's not myself or my wife. So
yeah, yeah, it's I mean, like I don't know. I would not want to bet that there is anyone that would ever love your kids as much as you do. I just don't think I just don't think they're out there. Like you gotta hope
yeah,
that they love them almost as much, and
yeah,
and
no, it's
they just get lucky or something.
but like you said earlier, it's a 50-50 chance. Should I take it? Should I not? I'd rather not take
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It's just like, oh, nah, I just can't. So you got nine, you've got two and one. Do you try to play with them as a group? Like when you have activities and stuff, do you try to play ball with all three of them? Or obviously the 1-year-old can do basically nothing.
Yeah.
But do you try to, and we'll say more the 9 and the 2-year-old, do you try to include them, or do you find yourself playing with them more like at separate times?
I try to include them in everything I do. We take them to the park and we'll play with both of them. My older boy understands that my younger ones needs more attention, and then so he'll play with us, and then he'll go go excuse me. He'll go off to the side, and then we'll go with him, but we'll try to all be together. You know, play together and do stuff. Now, there's times where we do just do stuff for my older son. Like I coach his soccer team, So that's just me and him. So he'll know that it's just between me and him right there.
Right on. In terms of being the coach, was that something that like how did that come about? Like how did you become the coach? Did they just need you, or what was that?
Uh, I've actually been coaching before, since before he was born, just for the same reason, because I knew when I had my kids, I wanted to be their coach, and I want to be kind of ready, not just have you ever you haven't seen? There's some movie Kicking and Screaming, and Will Ferrell, and he's reading the
Yeah,
book
okay.
while he's reading the book while he's on practice. He's like tripping all over the place. So I didn't want to be that guy tripping with the Cohen's boss. So
Yeah.
before I got my kids, I coached a little bit,
That's really
and
cool. I've heard dads tell me that they come up with a plan for their son or their daughter, like I want them to be whatever, I want them to be brave, I want them to be loyal or whatever, and they come up with a plan to like make them that way. But I've not actually talked to a dad that's like, I wanted to be a coach, like I wanted to do whatever, so I'm going to do that before, so that
yeah,
way I'm like actually good at it, as opposed to like,
yeah,
oh, I really want to coach my son, but I've only played soccer. That's all right, I've played soccer, so I'll coach my son, it'll be fine.
yeah. I know.
Like you've actually done it, you put in the work to learn how to do it,
Hmm.
so that's really cool.
Yeah.
um I I'm actually a bit of a soccer fan. I'm more I watch the Premier League, so I don't know if you like
Oh, I
watch
love the
any.
Premier League.
All right, on.
I'm an
Who's your
Arsenal
team?
fan. Arsenal.
I was just listening to a podcast about them, talking about them today. I'm well, I really like Nottingham FC,
Okay.
but I'm also a bit of a Chelsea fan. I jumped on the
Oh
Chelsea
no.
bandwagon. Yeah, that's really, I did not know that when I first started. I was just like, you know what? No one I know likes soccer. I'm just going to start watching. I'm just going to become a fan. And I did not know how to choose a team. I was like, well, how am I going to pick? And immediately I was like, Arsenal. That's a really cool name. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I might pull for Arsenal. And then it was someone else was like, you should pull for Everton because they're like the blue collar every guy team that, like the underdog, kind of like the Chicago Cubs. And I was like, nah, I don't know about that. And then someone and I don't know if someone introduced me or what, but then I found out about Chelsea. And when I was in high school, I had a huge crush on this girl named Chelsea. And I was
Oh,
like, well,
okay.
that's gonna do it. So they had just won the I don't they might have won the Champions League and the Premier League, but it was right after they had been like really good. And I was like, okay, I'll jump on with them. Like they just won, like they're obviously going to be good again. And I don't think they've won any rings or titles since then.
I don't think they
But I
have.
mean,
No.
I still, yeah, kind of follow them. So
I
that's
mean,
cool though. I
Arsenal
never really,
hasn't been good either. Arsenal hasn't been that good either since what 2005, I think it was. They lost they won the last Premier League.
yeah, I was going to say they've not been good since I've been a fan. So
Yeah.
it's definitely been more than 3 or 4 years. I know that they are always going to be there. They're never going to be relegated.
Hmm.
But they've not been Liverpool or Man City, since I've been a
Yeah, I
fan.
know. Hmm.
It seems like I don't know. I've not watched it forever, so I don't know for sure. But it feels like if you're not Liverpool, Man City, Man U, Chelsea, like it almost feels like you're just out of luck. Like you're just not ever going to be that good.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
don't know, I don't understand a lot of the rules in terms of transfers and things like that. But it seems like if like Nottingham, like if Nottingham has a really good striker and Chelsea wants him, then it's just like Chelsea gets them. Like it's just like
Yep,
that's the
yep.
way it is. And I feel like that really puts, a big obstacle in the way of these other teams that, want to get up there and want to stay in the Premier League and not get relegated again. I don't even know
Hmm.
how the hell we got on to soccer. But anyway, that's the most I've talked to anyone about soccer in a long, long time. So that was kind of cool. The last person I talked to was a student at a school that I worked at. So I'm going to go here with one of these silly questions that I've got. I've like I said, I use these just kind of I don't know, just to have fun a little bit. I used to I don't really say it anymore, but I used to say that one kid's hard, two kids is like really hard. But if you have three kids, you clearly must have a superpower of some kind because having three kids is just chaos all the time. So if you could have a superpower, like if there was something you could, suddenly start being super fast or something that would make it easier for you to be a dad, what kind of superpower would you pick?
Oh man, that's a good question right there. I don't know, because
Really putting the thought into it.
it is. Yeah, I mean that's a superpower that will make me a better dad. Is that?
Well, just like for example, like this doesn't have to necessarily. I'm
Mhm,
surprised that this has become its own thing. Okay, so for me, like my son
mhm.
always wants to. His thing right now is hey dad, want to race? Want to race? Okay, let's race. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
he will just he'll run around the living room and the kitchen 4 or 5 times and then be done. But whereas like that's nothing to him, after 1, 4, 5, 6, 7
Yep.
races a day, I'm like wore out. So
Yep, yep.
if I could have like I don't know super speed or super endurance or something like that, that'd be really nice because then I would always have the energy to play with my kid.
Oh, then for sure, and something where I don't get tired as much because
Yeah,
after
something.
work I still have to come here with my kids, and, you know, run around with them or something. It gets tiring after a while. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I actually never I thought that through as we were talking it because I myself had never picked one, for me. But yeah, probably something that would keep me from getting tired. I don't even know what that would
Mhm.
be, but like I just want, infinite energy or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
Um, so I'm looking over here at this long list of questions, and some of them aren't, as silly, I guess, as some of the rest. And I'm looking at one right now, and it has a certain it plays a certain amount into my life. I have finally reached, or I guess my son has finally reached an age where and you know what this is because you've dealt with it before. But you tell them to do something and then they laugh and run the other way.
Mhm.
You tell them to hey, come here, buddy, and then they look at you and run out in
Yep,
the road.
yep, yep.
Um, so and I'm like, hey, I'm not like some I don't know how to really put this without offending somebody. Like I don't really know how I'm going to end up being when it comes to discipline. Like
Yep.
I don't really know what kind of dad I'm going to be yet. Like I don't hit my son because he's 2 years old and I'm not going to hit a
Mhm.
2 year old.
Yeah, of
But
course.
like
Yeah, yeah.
when he's like 9, for
Mhm.
example, like what have you started or like what works for you when your son's like, haha, daddy, I'm not gonna listen. Like what is your first go to when that happens?
Uh, my tone of voice changes, so I'm playful, and then hey, stop. And then
That's
that he knows that it's time to quit. Or if I'm sitting down and he's talking to his mom and this and that, if I get up, he knows it's time to stop. But my tone of voice that automatically sets everything apart. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool because that's something that I try to work on too. Like when I'm talking to him, just every day, like we're having fun, whatever. I
Mhm.
I I, I go like I make an effort to make my voice kind of like
Deeper.
not as deep, like I
Yeah.
make it like softer
Hmm.
so that when he does do something where he's like, do like where he'll hit the dog or, hit his mom or whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
like my voice like it gets much, much deeper. Like there's a big change,
Right,
because
right,
like
right. Yep.
I've been trying to be like, much, much higher pitched or whatever all day. And then all of a sudden I'm like, Jackson, like something out of a metal song or something. Yeah, that is definitely a tool in the dad toolbox for sure. That that I learned early on. You gotta get that dad voice down, and then
Oh,
like you
for
said,
sure.
like I mean, if the like God forbid the dad voice doesn't work, but I mean, if you got to pull out the stand up too,
See,
like
now
oh
that's with my
man,
son, because with my daughter, it's completely different because I don't have that I guess authority with her yet, or she knows that. For her, it's just playing around. You know, it's kind of different
Yeah.
with her. She just wants to, because she follows me. You know, she's my little girl, so I'm not gonna be like strict with her compared to my son. So it's
Okay, that kind of does lead me into another question.
okay.
What would you say is the biggest difference between having a boy and a girl?
Uh, my my boy's older now, so he's more like away from me. He still wants to be around me and do stuff with me, but he's a little more independent now. My daughter, as soon as I come home from work, she's like, "Papi," and she goes and hugs me right away. If I'm laying down and pretending to be sleeping, she'll poke my eye. So my eyes are open. Like she'll literally do that. If I'm in the bathroom, she'll put her little hand under the door and she'll be like this, "Puppy, puppy." She'll follow me everywhere. Um, if me and my wife are hugging, she'll let mommy away. She don't want her mom with me. So I mean, it's just
That's
lovely.
so cute. That's awesome. Um, I'm wondering, like you said, that your son's kind of getting to that. Oh, man, and I was hoping that it would be more like 12 than 9. But you said your son's already getting to that age where he kind of like does more of his own thing. Have
Mhm.
you like and I maybe I think about this more than other dads, but when my son's about your son's age, I was hoping that I could start introducing him to things that I liked at that age, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or I don't know. I can't really think of anything else like, but
Yeah,
things
yeah,
that I like, movies, music,
yeah, yeah.
whatever. Have you tried to do that with him, and have you had any success?
I do. He actually likes Eminem, so he'll listen to like rap and he'll listen to Eminem, Jelly Roll. He'll watch
Jelly roll.
yeah, what is it, Digimon, and
Right on, right on.
he watches Naruto. So he'll watch like different stuff. He'll and I introduce him to like the, I don't know if you ever seen them, the Three Ninjas.
Oh yeah, that's an older
Yeah,
movie
yeah.
though.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's from like the 90s.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I watch them with him. So I introduce stuff like that to him.
that's cool. I'm glad that you've had that like connection with him, because most of the dads I've talked to, I'll start out like, I really worry that I'll try to, introduce him to stuff and that he won't like it. And they're all like, yep, that's how it's going to go. He's not going to like it. And it's going to break your heart. So it's good to know that like, that's not always going to happen. Like
Yeah.
sometimes, the son will enjoy some of the stuff. I think that for you though, like, I don't know your age, but just like mentioned, Naruto, Digimon, Eminem, like those are things that are relatively current. Like if a 9-year-old's still going to like stuff like that. But if I went to your 9-year-old and I was like, "Hey, have you ever heard of He-Man? What about GI Joe? Like, let's watch this. Have you ever played Nintendo?" He's gonna be like, "Dude, this shit is lame. Like, this is so the animation is so bad." And like,
It
so like I am kind of worried about that. Because like just video games now are just light years ahead of
is. Yep,
anything.
yep. See, I was
Um,
talking to my son the other day about I think it was the video cassette, the VCR,
yeah.
and he was asking me, what is that? Like, what is this? A movies? Like, well, how do you watch them? Like, you just put them in there. Like, no, it's, so he didn't understand how the VCR worked, and then he was asking me, how was it in my back in my time? Did I have phones?
Back in
Like,
your time.
yeah. Um, I told him I didn't have phones. Like, well, what'd you do all day? Like, well, we went outside and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it's understandable, you know.
Yeah, that's funny. Like I see that a lot on my page on Facebook. Like I follow a lot of like pod like dad stuff and old like retro 80s 90s stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So like I see a lot of stuff where it's like you're talking to your kids and you're like, did you know that when we would call our friends, sometimes their parents would answer and you would have to talk to them?
Yeah, yeah.
That
I
was I
seen posts
remember.
like that because I follow stuff like that too on Facebook. Yeah,
Yeah, like,
yeah,
I remember hating that, like, like, there's at least a couple times where I called a friend and his mom answered and I just hung up the phone. I was like, "I'll just try back later."
yeah.
Like, maybe he'll answer then. So, yeah, times have definitely changed.
Oh, they
Uh,
have.
I've, I keep coming back to the fact that you're living in Kansas City. That's so crazy. Like, it seems like most of the people that come on the show are either from the South or from Kansas City, either Missouri or Kansas, one or the other. Um, like, I think if I've had okay, if you go back 5 guests, counting you, at least 2 of them are from specifically Kansas City,
Oh
and I
wow.
think, I think I had a guest, like he was a guest, and then he came back on as a co-host one day, and he's also from Kansas City. I don't know
Okay.
what it is about the Midwest that like that I have this attachment to. It's not like I pick people from Kansas City. It's just like I run across them. Um, all right, so I guess we'll go back. Kind of, we're running down here, kind of toward the end of things. So we'll go back towards something funny. Uh, any like here recently, any particular parenting stories that like were particularly crazy, particularly funny, anything like that that you've had to endure in the past?
It's like I said, when I go pretty much anywhere, if I go to a bathroom, my little daughter will put her little hand behind the underneath the door.
That
She'll be like, "Puppy,
that's that's
puppy."
that's so
She'll be there the whole time,
that's
or
so
she'll
cute.
stand behind the door until she scares me and stuff like that.
Yeah, like my son, he does this thing where, I mean, I'm sure every kid does it, but he'll be looking at me, and
Hmm.
then he will put his hands over his eyes, and then just pull them away and say "boo," and like I'm supposed to act scared, and like he'll do it, and then if I don't act scared, he'll do it again, or like if I don't notice he did it, he'll do it again until I'm
Right,
like,
right.
"Oh goodness, so scary." Like, they're so cute at that age. Like, I will sometimes I don't watch him with a phone like maybe some moms or dads do. So I miss a lot of cute stuff. But there's sometimes I'll get lucky and catch him in a good a good whatever and post it to Instagram or to the podcast page. I try to keep that I post it to Instagram because I basically have no followers on there. And I post it to the podcast page just like kind of as a treat for the people that follow the podcast. I don't um I don't like feel comfortable like putting him out there for like everybody to see. But
Yep, yep.
the few people that are on those pages, like it's no big deal. And maybe they think he's cute. I certainly do. Looking over here at any other okay, so here's one. This is actually something that Dan comes with. I should ask it every time just because this is a dad podcast, but oftentimes I'll forget. And anyway, he asks virtually every time he's on, he asks the dad, "What's your best dad advice?" It doesn't have to be, a new dad or whatever. Just what would you say to, is your best piece of advice that you would give any dad?
Um, just be ready and be willing to learn every day. Um, it's hard, but it's meaningful. Raising kids. Um, like I said, it's extremely hard work raising the kids. Raising humans, the human beings are gonna be good people for the next, growing up. But it's worthwhile. There's like you mentioned earlier. It's beautiful moments they have. That's that makes it worthwhile.
Yeah, and that's really actually that's really good advice too because a lot of parents like and I can't really I say a lot of parents, but I don't know a lot of parents like this. I'm just assuming that a lot of parents are like this. Now, I would think that a lot of parents probably, after 1, 2 kids or whatever the case may be, they're like, "I've got this. I know
Hmm.
this. I don't have to, learn anything else." But it doesn't matter how many kids you have because they're all gonna be different. Like
Yep,
what worked for
exactly. Yep.
one isn't necessarily gonna work for the next one. So you have to be willing to, to keep an open mind and to keep learning and, keep improving as a dad and keep, getting better and doing better for your kids. And
Oh,
if you don't have
absolutely. Yep.
that open mind, then yeah, I mean, you're hurting yourself and you're hurting your children.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, I agree with you. Yep.
that's actually really great advice. And I don't remember any dad giving that advice before, but my memory, it's not what I would like it to be. um, I don't have any I don't really have any others like pertinent questions to your particular situation that I had, thought about, planned or anything like that. These when I come across a dad like you that that I just um I don't know that just had something that I clicked with. Basically the whole or the whole show is just like like us talking. It's not really me interviewing you and asking a whole bunch of questions. It's really just me like meeting another dad, learning from them and finding out like what they've gone through. And that's kind of what we've done here today. I will I don't know what you've got going on in your personal life in terms of promotion, but I did want to give you the opportunity. I do always toward the end of the show give the guest the time to like talk about like some guests have books or podcasts. One guy like wanted to talk about how he helps volunteer with Make-A-Wish Foundation. So I don't know if you've got anything at all that you are trying to get out there, but if you do, here's your chance to tell our my listeners and
Right.
maybe get somebody else interested in what you're talking about.
Not at the moment. I think you say you get nervous. That's why I haven't started a podcast either. I get nervous doing this, so that's why I've never actually done it. I do wish to do one though, so maybe one day I will.
Yeah, I totally understand that, man. I would never have started the podcast if I didn't have well, early on I had a podcast where we were playing D&D and we were recording that, and there's just like that just went nowhere really. Like it was just basically recording the sessions and then listening back and laughing. But then this started out with another guy, and I was like, right on, it'll just be the two of us. Like that's crazy. Like it's just gonna be just us. And then he quickly dropped out, and Dan had just been on that version of the podcast, and I was like, well, I've got to delete all these episodes because I can't release any of them with that other guy in them.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was like, well, let's start it, let's just keep it going and I'll be the guest. And I was like, that works for me because I'm not going to do it alone. And yeah, but so if I hadn't had Dan, like I would never have been able to get comfortable, like because back when we first started doing interviews, I would get like really like I would get so nervous, I would get sick. I would have to go to the bathroom and like, yeah, it was bad. And
Yeah.
now I still get nervous, but I get nervous like right before, like it'll be like, if like tonight, like I was like, okay, 8:28, there's the nerves. Okay. Were they going to come or, was I going to get out of it this time? And then I was like at 8:29, it got a little bit worse. And I was like, okay, well, maybe he won't show up. That'd be all right. I won't mind. I won't get mad at him. I'll even tell him like I'm not mad. And then, you popped up and I was like, all right, fucking let's do this. And that's the way it always is. Like every time I'm like, oh my, why am I so nervous? Like, oh, I hate this.
Yeah.
Because I'm so introverted in real life. Like I don't ever talk to people. Like this is me talking to people. I'm a stay-at-home dad.
Okay.
So like my wife makes like I could work, but I would be paying for childcare because it's just so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife makes like a lot of money being the manager of an eye doctor. So we don't need me to work, and it just makes more sense for me to stay home and take care of my son.
Right.
And so that being the case, I'm not out there like probably you are talking to my coworkers every day and
Mm-hmm.
being social with people. So it's really hard for me to just talk to strangers. And
Yeah.
I feel like there's always going to be a little bit of nervousness right before the other camera turns on. But I make do. I get over it. I'm
But
okay.
see, I'm with you. I can understand what you're feeling because, like myself, I'm an introvert as well. Like I'd rather stay at home. Like I don't try to interact too much because I'm just nervous.
Yeah.
Even when I was here before, I was like, oh man, I was hoping same thing. Like you say, hopefully he forgot or it was a different day.
Yeah.
My hands are sweaty right now. So
Yeah, dude. I would. They're not as bad now, but like right when we first started, like my hands are under the desk most of the time. So like when we first started, I was constantly like rubbing them on my pants, like trying
that's
to
what I
get
was doing
the
too over
sweat
here.
off. And it's not like we're not like it's not like we're interviewing for a job. We're just two dudes talking. But like I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's just something about it makes me so nervous.
It might be the camera or something. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. I guess like because that does make sense though. Because when I was getting like back when I was in school, it was during the pandemic, and it was all online. And I would never have my camera on because I just didn't like
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like them seeing me. I didn't like seeing me. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I just it would be all like I could see the teacher or whatever, but it would just
Mm-hmm.
you'd just hear me. So yeah, something about the camera. I think it's something about the camera. We didn't used to do video, but it just seemed natural to like I wanted to start promoting the podcast somehow. And if you don't do video, like it's really hard, to get people to like listen. If you can't watch something, like it's really hard to get them to pay attention. So like
Yeah,
people
yeah.
can like look at something and not even, not listen really and still get the message. So we had to kind of have to start doing video if we wanted to grow. And I want to like I'm not really interested in making any money with this. It's a hobby for me, but I would like to grow enough that like we can continue to, help people. Like there's randomly like we'll just, get people saying like, that really meant a lot to hear you talk about that, or you guys are doing great work, or thank you so much, that whatever. um that's really why I keep going. And as hard as it is to talk to strangers, like after it's over with I always feel better. And
Right, right.
usually they're like, yeah, I had a good time and it was really cool to share and blah blah blah. I had one guy that like he was like really depressed. Like I could tell like while we were talking, I was like, wow, this guy's pretty bad. But then after it was over, he was like, I felt so much better. Like, thank you so much for letting me,
Right, right.
like
Yeah.
my it just so happened like I had a really bad lag that episode, and I just couldn't talk at all. I just had to sit there and watch. And none of my like Dan was there, and I had another co-host at the time, Sam. He was there, but they weren't doing anything. They just let the guy continue to talk and talk and talk, and he talked for basically an hour straight. And it turned out to, it was an okay episode or whatever, but it was not the way it would have went if I'd had, audio. And then after it was over with, he was like, "Oh man, I needed that so bad, like that, that really like
Yeah.
that helped me so much." And I was like, "Wow, like that was just fate." Like, I guess you just needed to get that off your chest. So it was a good thing
I
that,
think
my
I
audio
think
went
that's
down.
what I like about the podcast, and that's what attracted me to it to apply to it, because it's two dads, and sometimes as a dad you don't get heard of, so you come in here and like you say, he was talking for an hour. Sometimes that's all we need, just be heard.
Yeah,
Sometimes we have this wisdom to share, nobody to listen. So we all
for
need
sure.
somebody to listen to. So I appreciate you doing this for not just for me, but for every dad out there. Thank you for doing it.
Well, I mean, I really do appreciate you saying that. Thank you. I It's always unexpected to hear people, say things like that. So I really do appreciate it. And originally it was like, oh, it's two dads because it's me and Dan. But now it's like it's two dads because it's always going to be two dads, and we're always going to be, you know, getting that weight off of our chest, because like you said, dads don't get like there's not a lot out there for dads in terms of like
Hmm.
help, or just, like we're just supposed to be tough and
Yeah,
deal with it
exactly.
and
Yeah,
not talk. And that's like not healthy.
it's not.
So
No, no.
well, at the time it was we, because Dan was more involved. We wanted to, get something out there that was more of a resource for dads. We're like, there's a lot of podcasts that like for men in general, or there's some for dads too, but they're all I don't know, like they're all a bit different. Like it's like they're all trying to tell you, like they want to tell you how to be a dad, whereas our show is more like, hey, you come on and you tell us how to be a dad, because like all dads have something, to share. All dads have,
Yep.
like you said, wisdom, and they're dads, so they know, what works, what doesn't. And anything that you can tell me that I can take and improve my life and make my son's life better, like I'm all down for that. I will do that every day and twice on Sunday.
Mhm.
So it's helpful for the guests because they get to come on here and talk, but it's also helpful for me because I get to learn.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and some of these guys have actually become friends. I will when we get off, I will send you a friend request on Facebook. So I mean, who knows?
All right.
Maybe
Cool.
we'll end up like, actually being Facebook buddies or internet buddies or whatever. Like
Yeah,
these
yeah.
are guys I don't like see in person, but like, I share with them. I talk to them every day.
Hmm.
And so it's really cool to have like about as close as I get to a friend, with some of these people I meet on the show. And like, I don't know, it's just, I've been really lucky with guests. Like I had one guy that was a total douchebag, but we didn't even get started on the interview really. Like I started the intro and he didn't like something he heard, and he got all like, he asked me to stop and was like, uh acted like he wanted to give me some advice when really he just wanted to like complain about something. I was like, yeah, go ahead, man, go ahead. What do you got to say? And then like I just ended the meeting. and and other than that guy, like almost every guest has been like really cool. There's been a couple that I could tell like I wouldn't want to hang out with that guy, in
Yeah.
real life. But when we talked, he was really cool. So overall, I've been really lucky. And once again, I've been really lucky with you because you've been a really cool guest. It's always cool to talk to somebody from Mexico because, like I said, I have like this weird attachment to Mexico. I don't know
Yeah.
why. I'm huge fan of Pancho Villa, like just Mexican history in general.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so like it's always cool to talk to another. I almost said fellow Mexican. I was like, I'm Mexican or something. Another Mexican dad. So that's always cool. And I'm good to, good to see a Mexican dad that's actually out there, like, kind of succeeding. Like, you seem to be like, doing great as far as being a dad. And you got your life on track. You're doing good for your family. And it's that's not what the news talks about. So it's really good to, to meet a dad just as normal as me, who's working just as hard, well, harder, because I don't work at all. So a dad that's much harder working than me, that's actually, got his head on straight. And I'm always happy to meet another dad like that, learn from a dad like that. So, thanks again for coming on the show and wisening me up on some things. First, started off with Cinco de Mayo. So, I was learning from the top of the show. But I guess, that's going to do it for us. Sometimes I will have a pre-planned dad joke, but well, I guess I'll just say one that I've already said because very few listeners listen to every episode. So here's kind of a dad joke, kind of not, more of an adult joke, sort of, kind of. When does a regular joke become a dad joke?
I remember this one.
When it goes to the store and never comes back. I've actually this is the second episode I've told that joke on, but it always gets a chuckle. And if I don't have one like pre-planned, at least I can go back to that one. But anyway, as I said before, do you go by, like, is it Eduardo? Do you go by Eddie, Ed?
Eddie, most of the time.
Eddie. Mm-hmm. Right on. So Eddie, thanks, man, for coming on. Thanks for talking to me. Thanks for being really cool. And like I said, I will be sending you a Facebook friend request here within, I don't know, the next hour or two, something like that. Right. And hopefully we can continue, learning as dads and getting better every day.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me here, Corey. All right. Thanks for the invite.
Hey, no problem, man. You had, as is usually the case, like I'm kind of restricted, in how long I can go, because we had one episode that was like 2 hours long and virtually nobody watched it or listened to it. So we got to keep it to about an hour. But you, as usually happens, had so much more that we could have talked about, like, just the miscarriages and stuff like that. Like you had, so much in your life that we just never touched on. So maybe down the road, if you feel like, we don't necessarily have to, plan anything right now, but maybe down the road sometime you come back on, we'll talk again, just like a normal talk and catch up.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just let me know when, I'll come on.
Right on, man. I do appreciate it once again. And you have a good, whatever day it is, Saturday. Yeah. You have a good Saturday. Good rest of your weekend.
All right, too. Thank you, Corey.
Thanks, man. See you later.
Yep. All right. Bye.